Ask any designer what a good landing page starts with and they will tell you the same thing. A solid wireframe. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact wireframe that we've used to help our clients double their conversion rate. But before you design anything, you need to get your copy straight, because copy determines the structure of your landing page, not the other way around. So if you haven't written your copy yet, go and check out the video that will be linked in the description down below, where we explain everything that you need to know about writing engaging and converting copy for your landing page. So for this example, I wanted to show you the most unsexy niche in the business. Now, I picked funeral directors here and created a wireframe around a funeral director's landing page. I wanted to show you that just because you're not an e-commerce company, it doesn't mean these principles don't apply to you. In fact, if you're in any industry, you can take these core principles and apply them to your business. Whether that's a charity, an e-commerce business, whether you sell a service, whether you're trying to get sign-ups, whether you're an estate agent trying to garner leads, all these principles are going to apply. And also keep in mind, you will need to design for your different screen sizes. So your desktop, your tablet, and your mobile. I'm only showing you desktop here. So as you can see here, we've got our above the fold section. This is typically known as the hero section. And this is what people see when they land on your landing page. But before we dive into any of the value prop or anything, I want to talk about these two bars up here. This is an offer bar. You'll often see this frequently on e-commerce websites where some form of urgency is placed to encourage people to make a quick purchase. That might be 50% off everything for 59 minutes remaining. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Or free delivery for all orders over $49.99 in the next 24 hours. But you just need to place some form of offer right at the top so it catches the viewer's attention. We normally want to place this in some form of contrasting color so it stands out from the rest of the page. Now, obviously here we've got a predominantly white page and we've used a black bar just to separate it. I'd always try and keep the font here like to at least around 16 pixels. I think here you can get away with sort of a minimum of 14, but keep it nice and small. And a top tip with this is keep it sticky so when people scroll, it stays at the top. I should mention, ignore all the copy in this. I am just showing you the wireframe here. The copy sucks on this and it has simply been inserted by AI. So for example, if you're a funeral director, maybe here you would say like free flower arrangements with all funerals in the next 24 hours. Something along the lines of that. Below it, we then have the navigation bar where we've got our logo, our key navigation points, and then a CTA. Importantly, really do think about your navigation bar, okay? This is one of the most important, but I think underthought about parts of the website. Typically, if people cannot find where they need to go very, very quickly, they will exit your sites, and is one of the biggest reasons for drop-offs within the first sort of 5 to 10 seconds. So really think about what it is that people will want to find on your website and make it easy for them to get to it. You need to account for all parts of the funnel here. So you can see we've got things from like what to do now to pricing for someone that is maybe ready to purchase, to then guides and support for people that are just know that they're going to need to at some point. They just need a little bit of help. So then we move down to the main hero section where we've got our value prop. This is, you know, the most important part of our landing page right here. This section tells your viewers what your product or your service is about and who it is for. So this is where you're going to write a really high converting hero headline, not like this one. You have some form of subheading. This is often done in bullet points as well, but we've included this little section up here just with 3 additional value propositions. And then we've made this a little bit more informational. A lot of brands won't need 2 CTAs. However, in this case, for the funeral director, we have included a hard CTA and a soft CTA. Regardless, you always want to make sure your soft CTA stands out less than your hard CTA. So for example, just do it in like an outline and not have it in a sort of color that stands out from the background. Here we've used a black CTA, but this is just a wireframe. We don't typically tend to color our wireframes, but if I was to make this CTA sort of this color, if you're looking at this, instantly you're more drawn to the bright orange, pretty CTA. And if that's your soft CTA, then you're drawing people's attention to the wrong call to action. If you're not going to keep your image behind, some people have like a big background image, which is great. Just make sure your text is really readable. A lot of people don't think about accessibility, and if you have text that is hard to read, it's not going to help with conversions basically. So if you opt to have your image sort of next to your text, we always recommend to have it on the right because humans naturally read from left to right. It then just helps the content be balanced and a little bit more scannable. Always make sure your heading is large, obviously your subheading smaller, make sure your CTA is very clear. We normally recommend you have some form of social proof or trust element underneath your CTA. We've seen that it really helps with conversion. So here we've used a sort of 4.9 out of 5 stars from 247 families as an example, and we've represented that with the 5 gold stars. Another thing that is super important that you will always see or typically see on e-commerce websites is some form of association logos or accreditation. This is, you likely see on some form of e-com website, you'll see as seen in Vogue magazine or Forbes or Time, whatever. Here we would include some sort of association, are they SAIF accredited? Are they part of like the Fair Funeral pricing? I can't remember exactly what it's called, but those sort of things, maybe if you're an ads agency, you would have, this is where you're like a Google Ads partner or a Meta Ads partner, just to reinforce that you are trustworthy and you do have some credibility. Then we kind of move into the product or service process. So here we've done a 1, 2, 3, 4. You may require more, but that's fine. If you need more, just add more. If you need less, have less. Just make sure it's all evenly spaced, it all looks nice and easy, and it reads really digestibly. We've included icons here just to break it down a little bit more and not to overwhelm the visitor with loads and loads of text. Also, what I wouldn't recommend is if you've got like typically like a 12-step process, really don't include 12 steps. I would say keep it to a maximum of 5. Because at this point, we don't want people sitting here looking at the whole process. We don't want to bore them to death. We just want to simplify it and make it really easy for them to take in and know what it is that is going to happen. And then at this stage, we'll just end with a soft CTA. So here we've used Get Our Free What to Do Now guide, just to encourage people that may need a little bit of help. This is kind of our risk reversal guarantee little section. It just breaks the website up nicely. So do this in a color that contrasts to the 2 sections either side of it. When people are spending a lot of money, they want to feel safe and confident. Just listing the features and everything you do isn't enough. You need to show them that they can trust you. So keep the message short, clear and concise here. We have a transparent pricing guarantee. You will never incur hidden costs, with a little shield just to reinforce that trust. It just provides a little bit of extra confidence at a quick glance. So then we move on to the sort of the product or service overview. This section really helps people understand exactly what products and services that you offer. Next is our product or service overview. This section is going to help people understand exactly what service and product that you offer, and we need to make that done at a glance. So what we've done here is we've broken it down to make it really easy to understand and easy to understand quickly. So we've used a clean card-based grid just to showcase all the multiple different service options that we provide. So again, we've tried to include icons here just to make it a little bit more clear. It breaks it up a little bit so people aren't just looking at text the whole time. And using this grid layout also really helps break it up. Make sure your headings are clear, a little bit bigger than the body so people know exactly what they're looking at, and then just give a very brief description. At this point, people are not looking to know everything about that service. We will give them that option to learn more in a CTA just below. At this point, we're going to drop in another hard CTA. We're hoping at this point that those who are a little bit more convinced by the service are at a point where they would take action. And this is why including your CTAs at the right spots is so important. Now, I can't guarantee that based off this wireframe, this is in the right place, but this is where I would begin with it. I would then use data once the landing page is up and once we've got visitors and we can collect data to determine where the best place for this is. But typically the best spots to have this are after a portion where you have built trust, or maybe you've given a little bit more information on your service and what it is you provide. Because what I like to think is by the time we've got to this point and we've gone through what we've just gone through, we've addressed many of their concerns. But if they're still not convinced at this point, we're going to lead them onto the founder sort of team section. This is one of the most important touch points on a landing page because it builds trust, especially in an industry such as funeral directors, where having credibility and that emotional connection plays such an important role, because ultimately people want to know who's behind this business. So how we've broken this down on here is just like a small little section of the team. On the left hand side, there's probably more team members, and then you know, we would have a big team photo on the right, just to kind of really show they have this big sort of family environment. And you would maybe show your key members on the left hand side. Perhaps it's normally good to include the people that are most likely to be interacting with clients that come through this way. So this section is typically for service-based businesses, where we've got a pricing section. What is the value of each different service that you provide, and what is it that you provide within it? Please make sure that your heading at this point is not something just like, check out our pricing. Make it a little bit more emotive than that. But what we've done here is we've just broken it down into a simple sort of 3-card section. We've got our 3 services here, here, and here. The different prices, obviously these are all the same. And then you would have 3 key value props about each different service. For something like this, a funeral directors, where let's say we had a simple cremation, an attended funeral, or an above ground funeral, okay, we wouldn't make any one of those stand out more than the rest, because it's a very personal thing. No one is going to pick a different package based on the fact that it seems better. You know, typically people have a wish prior to their death, or I want to be cremated, or I'd like to have an above ground burial, or I want an unattended funeral. But if you have a service that is maybe like, what's a good example? Maybe it's a software as a service, and you're selling something like AI imagery editing. Let's say in service 1 you get 10 pictures per month for this price, and you get 5 revisions per picture. In service 2, which might be a little bit more expensive, you get 20, and then you might get 10 revisions per picture. And then you might have like your custom or enterprise. You would make section 2 stand out, as that is your biggest value driver. So you would just make that stand out a little bit more, maybe make it a little bit bigger, highlight it in a different color, and hopefully you get more people clicking on that than the others. Really try to avoid long descriptions here. People don't want to see bulks of text. If they want to learn more, they will click here. It's just at this point, we just need to highlight the key points that people might want to see from this service. And again, keep your CTAs nice, bold, and clear. We also added a little, you know, no hidden fees guarantee in here again. Like I said, it was one of the key things that we found in this industry that people are generally pretty dissatisfied with, is it's being hit with hidden fees. So we just wanted to really reinforce that you will be hit with no hidden fees from any of these pricings that you see. Just below that, we move on to our testimonial section. Testimonials, the testimonial section is just to build trust from, you know, showing real experiences from past customers, and this is how we would typically design it. We just presented it in some form of carousel, so this will scroll with loads of different reviews. If people want to hover over it, it can stop and they can read them, but it just breaks it down. We don't want to make this a super long section, it just needs to be a small section, but again, it's just reinforcing that it's just reinforcing that trust, and it's showing a bit of social proof. Obviously only use your 5-star ratings. I'm not saying delete reviews or anything, but only show the 5-star ones on your website, and try and make them personal. Like, include people's names if they've included them on the testimonial or the review. It just makes them seem, number one, a little bit more legit. It makes them seem more personal, and it just really increases your authenticity. So we've then included a benefit section. The benefit section shows sort of the you know, the outcomes your customers will get when they choose you, essentially. So here, look, we've said you'll get individual counseling, we offer support groups, and you get a 24/7 helpline. So people are seeing that, you know, if they go with this funeral director, they're going to get support that lasts beyond the funeral. It's not just we take your money, we set this up, and then we're done. So just make sure all your cards are a consistent size. Make sure it looks really clean, it's really digestible. Again, we've included more icons here, and we've included a clear CTA with each card. So you would have seen throughout the page that we've got a CTA that says about getting your free guide. Well, here is the section on getting a free guide. So this is essentially our lead magnet section. This section is totally optional, but it gives people a helpful free guide in exchange for their name and email. And, you know, this doesn't just apply to funeral directors, this can apply to anything. This can apply to your e-commerce business. Let's say you're selling hydration sachets. You can send a guide on how to stay hydrated, you know, how to ensure that you stay hydrated in a marathon. Simple stuff like that, where you just offer guides that kind of relate to your business, but you're collecting that data. Okay, it's a great way to stay in touch with your potential customers. You collect their name, their email, and if they're not ready to call yet, you've got them locked in. You can give them a call within 48 hours and then see if they're ready to make the jump. We've kept it nice and clean, this design, just with 4 sort of key things that you get from the lead magnet. Try and make your form not too long. Forms are where people go so wrong. They make them so long, they try and collect so much data that people don't want to share with. Here we've just got a simple first name, last name, email address. You could even get rid of last name if you want, and just try and keep them as minimal as possible. Again, this section is not entirely vital, but it's great just to build on that social proof and authenticity of your brand or business. This is where we show sort of customer stories, stories that people can share about their experience with your business. They're really personal, and especially with something like a funeral director in this case, people are gonna really want to know that the experience was a nice experience and that they made it sort of seamless as possible, and everyone just wants to know that other people have gone through this and these guys are good. But this can work for anything. I mean, if you're running an online PT company and people want to see different transformations, this is a great place to put it, where people can talk about their experience with your business. Then we move on to objection handling, typically known as the frequently asked questions section. This section helps remove sort of any doubts and objections by just answering the most commonly asked questions. Make sure it's easy for visitors to find after they've seen your prices. Use a collapsible format, so people can see the questions. But if you had all of these open, some of these could be really long and you're just going to have a massive FAQ section and people are not going to read it all. So make it really digestible, just where people can see the questions, because ultimately most people are only going to want to know 1 or 2 things. They're not going to want to know all of the frequently asked question answers. And only include the most common questions. Don't include sort of 12, 15, just include 4 to 8 questions. I'd say 4 to 6, it really is your sweet spot. Now, importantly, make sure you always keep your FAQ section close to a call to action, and that's exactly what we've done just down here. Keep the message clear, keep it supportive. In this case, we're here to help right now, because ultimately we like to think that we've handled their objections and any doubts that have arisen from going through our pricing section, our servicing section. Hopefully we have handled them at this point and they're ready to convert. So we need a CTA right below it. So I tried to keep that as brief as I could. I'm very sorry, I could talk about this all day, and it's quite a lengthy thing to go through. But if you do have any questions about this, please do drop them in the comments below. We will answer all of them. We do also have a free comprehensive landing page guide, which you can download from the link in our bio. And don't forget, do go and check out that copy video as well. We are Formulr. We are a digital marketing agency with a passion for helping you to drive more conversions. So if you're new here, please do make sure you click the subscribe button. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and we will be back next week with another brand new video.